Honda became the new king of motorcycle road racing on March 15, 1970, by winning the world's most important race, the Daytona 200. American Honda's first all-out effort at Daytona was a Cinderella story for the CB750 and rider Dick Mann. The winning combination scorched the track and the competition with a record average speed of 102.697 miles per hour. The greatest names in motorcycle racing and especially prepared machines from throughout the world were left in the Honda's exhaust stream. In one great moment, Honda proved it builds the world's best motorcycles. But Dick Mann and his orange number 2 racer were both far from favorites when they arrived at Daytona, citadel of American racing. American Honda had never made an all-out assault on the 200, and victory here had always eluded Mann, who had won almost every other championship to become the sport's leading active rider. Mann was the Grand National Champion of the American Motorcycle Association one year, was placed in the top 10 rankings 15 times. 3 times, Mann had settled for second place here. Mann knew he would be in the race just 2 weeks before his motorcycle was wheeled out of the Honda garage on race day. American Honda's 11th hour entry had stunned the motorcycle racing world. The Honda team, in addition to Mann, was composed of 3 champion riders from European competition. Tommy Robb of Belfast, Northern Ireland, on the number 28 bike. Ralph Bryans of Ayr, Scotland, on number 12. Bill Smith of London on number 36. 3 American Honda team bikes were listed on the starting grid. Mann had qualified 4th fastest at 152.827 miles per hour for a spot on the front row. Robb was back in the field in the 32nd position. Bryans had escaped injury during a mishap in practice and started at the back of the pack. Smith had qualified to start 43rd, but had mechanical difficulty and did not make the grid. The Honda team was confident of having the fastest bike on the track, even though Gene Romero had won the pole position with a speed 5 miles per hour faster. After Mann's qualifying run, his crew located a maladjustment in his engine. When they solved it, they knew it would produce additional horsepower. But even still, the competition had no way of knowing how the Hondas would react to a long race over Daytona's 3.81-mile road course. Turns as steep as 31 degrees would subject riders to tortuously high G-forces at speeds of more than 160 miles per hour. Months of intensive preparation had convinced the Honda team that the 750's frame would hold steady at tremendous speeds, that the dual disc brakes would keep their effectiveness, and that the 4-cylinder overhead valve engine would run 200 miles at an almost constant peak of 9,500 RPMs. Mann consulted veteran racer Bart Markle for pointers.
Okay, Marco, out with all the secrets. Gather up.
And that's about as much help as you can expect from a competitor. The American Honda team's preparations would move into action as soon as the starting grid was cleared. And Mann scoots into the lead. Winding his 90-plus horsepower engine out to 80 miles per hour in first gear, Mann shows his tailpipes to the faster qualifiers and gets so far ahead on the backstretch, he's out of camera range. Using the entire oval track on the first lap, Mann built up an incredible 100-yard lead over his nearest pursuer. Dedicated team headed by Yoshio Nakamura, Honda Research and Development Center Director, Dick Mann proved the Honda was the fastest machine at Daytona. Eyebrows in the pits and the stands lifted as Mann dusted off his competition. But could he do it for 200 miles? Second lap, Mann had proved his point. So he loosened his throttle a little, allowing Gary Nixon to take the lead on his Triumph and Mike Halewood to take over second on a BSA. Mann knew he had a long way to go, and he wanted to save his engine. Gary Nixon was no stranger to the #1 spot. He won the Daytona 200 in 1967 and was AMA Grand National Champion in 67 and 68. As the riders passed to the front straightaway for the second time, Mann was second to Nixon, with Halewood close on Mann's heels. Here, Halewood edged by for the second spot. Traffic produced some spectacular mishaps, but fortunately, no one was seriously injured. By the 30th lap, Mann had regained the lead after a series of mechanical failures among the leaders. Mann's early strategy had paid off. Halewood on his BSA was forced out with ignition failure on the 9th lap. Two-time defending champion Cal Rayburn blew the engine on his Harley-Davidson on the 26th lap. Ron Grant, who led briefly, was unable to restart his Suzuki because of an engine seizure after running out of gas and refueling. Mann's pit crew had done their part, getting Dick back on the track in 17 seconds while Nixon was still leading. Mann took the lead for good when Nixon limped into his pit with a burned piston on the Triumph. Young Gene Romero was the nearest challenger. Mann continued to make his way carefully around the track, very carefully, as he narrowly misses this spill. By the time he regained the lead, Mann was Honda's only remaining hope among the team entries. The European riders had been struck with mechanical failures. Mann continued to guide the rock-steady Honda straight through Daytona's wind-whipped turns and mile-long straightaways. Among the remaining contenders were Canadian Yvon Duhamel on a Yamaha, Don Castro aboard a Triumph, and, of course, the hard-charging Romero. As As the leader, man had to work harder than ever. At 160 miles per hour, Daytona's slight ripples, caused by the heavy stock cars, can jar a rider as if his machine has no spring. Soon, only 15 seconds separated Man and Romero. Man's crew kept him informed of the time interval between him and the second-place bike. In the late stages, Man was nursing his lead carefully. Fatigue of men and machines continues to take its toll. That was a good one to be in front of. Still, Man allowed Romero to gain time in order to save his machine. By this time, the leaders had lapped almost every other competitor. Man said later that when he took the yellow flag, he knew he'd be struck by lightning on that final trip around the course. And Dick Mann wins. It was a triumphant ride toward victory lane for the man they call Bugsy, and a glum one for Romero. Man had completed the 200 miles in 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 13 seconds, fastest in history.
And it's been a long, long time, Dick. The last time we were down here was 1962, as we talked about the other night. Did you have any problems at all?
Well, I had a little throttle problem just before halfway. It wouldn't shut all the way off. And then after the gas stop, I got a little bit of a misfire, and it ran on 3, I think.
Did you have any problems while you made your gas stop? Anything at all, or was the crew right on the ball?
Absolutely perfect pit stop. No problems at all.
Did any of the slower riders give you any problems out there today?
No, I'm terrified of slower riders. They didn't bother me.
Well, Dick, congratulations to you, and at 101 points. And I know, what can we say, but the choice to ride the new Honda 4 was certainly a wise one.
The winner at Daytona gets a big trophy for a big job. The Honda team of engineers and crew members was ecstatic as Man accepted Romero's congratulations and Yoshio Nakamura as his personal commendation. Before the race could be made official, Man's bike had to go through a tough technical inspection. Man was engulfed by fans and reporters on his walk back to the Honda garage. Among them was Doug Toms, director of the National Highway Safety Bureau.
See you at that plane. Okay. There's one of them girls in the line.
I noticed that the Honda smoked quite a bit as you downshifted coming into the first tight turn.
Yeah, this was a calculated thing. They wanted to keep the top end pretty cool and oiled it a little extra bit.
So they were running it a lot of oil in the upper end, and that was blowing past the valves. And
Yeah, it was on purpose.
how fast did you feel that you were getting when you were up on the straightaway?
Well, early in the race, before I got a little misfire, it was running in the neighborhood of 102 or 3.
It was Dick Mann's fate to propel himself and Honda into preeminence by winning what many people consider to be the most important motorcycle road race ever run. Later that evening, Mann received a standing ovation by his colleagues and competitors at the victory banquet. But by that time, Dick Mann had already learned that you do meet the nicest people on a Honda.